Welcome to today's program, USPTO Hour, Patent Examiner Hiring, Recruiting Efforts, and the Examiner Role. I'm Sean Hunter, the Director of the Office of Patents Stakeholder Experience here at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. The USPTO recently unveiled 7 patents business unit priorities, which are represented by the acronym INVENTS. Each priority represents the agency's commitment to strengthen the U.S. patent system, enable innovators to secure patent protection for their inventions, and provide durable patent rights that make the United States intellectual property IP system the best in the world. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Mishner, Director, Technology Center 1600, and Keisha Bryant, Director, Technology Center 2800. Jennifer, or Jenny Mishner, currently serves as a Group Director in Technology Center 1600, which provides examination of patent applications for technologies that include biotechnology and organic chemistry. After Ms. Mishner received a BS in Chemical Engineering from the University of Virginia in 1996, she worked as a consultant at Science Applications International Corporation and then joined the USPTO in 1999 as a patent examiner in TC 1700. Ms. Mishner examined coding processes, primarily in the medical coding art in TC 1700, and served as a quality assurance specialist detailee. From 2006 through 2009, Ms. Mishner served as a Technology Center appeal specialist for TC 1700. From 2009 through 2019, Ms. Mishner served as a supervisory patent examiner in the batteries arts, including photoelectric batteries, and from 2021 through 2024, she served as a SPE in the gas separation and liquid separation arts. Ms. Mishner served as a TC 1700 operations manager from 2019 through 2021 and has served on various details, such as to the Office of the Commissioner for Patents, Senior Advisor to the Assistant Commissioners for Patents, Acting Technology Center 1700 Group Director, Acting Customer Experience Administrator, and Acting Director of the Office of Patent Stakeholder Experience. Ms. Mishner is also a USPTO career coach. Keisha Bryant currently serves as a Group Director in Technology Center, or TC 2800, which provides examination of patent applications for technologies that include semiconductors, electrical and optical systems and components. Ms. Bryant joined the USPTO in 2001 as a patent examiner and subsequently became a primary examiner in the semiconductor area. She was a trainer in the Office of Patent Training and later became a supervisory patent examiner in TC 2800 in the semiconductor area for 5 years. Ms. Bryan was a Technology Center coordinator for the Electrical Systems and Circuitry area in TC 2800 for 5 years and was a senior advisor to the Assistant Deputy Commissioners for Patents. In 2018, she was appointed to the Senior Executive Service in Technology Center 3700. Ms. Bryant received her degree in physics from Hampton University. Ms. Bryant is also one of the executive leads for patent examiner hiring and recruitment. She also serves on the quality goals teams and the site experience education program and SPE hiring teams. With that, it is my absolute pleasure to turn it over to you, Jenny and Keisha.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that nice introduction, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Jenny Michener, and I'm here today for our USPTO Hour with Keisha Bryant to discuss patent examiner hiring, recruiting events, and the examiner role. So starting off, just very high level, the USPTO is an agency within the Department of Commerce. We are America's innovation agency, and our mission is to grant U.S. patents and register trademarks. Patents and trademarks drive innovation and economic growth, and the USPTO is founded in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the Constitution to, quote, promote the progress of science and useful arts. So what is a patent? A patent for an invention is the grant of a property right to an inventor issued by the USPTO. Generally, the term of a new patent is 20 years from the date on which the application for the patent was filed in the US, or in special cases, from the date an earlier related application was filed, subject to the payment of the maintenance fees. U.S. patent grants are effective only within the United States, U.S. territories, and U.S. possessions. Under certain circumstances, patent term extensions or adjustments may be available. We do not grant the right to make, use, offer for sale, sell, or import, but we do grant the right to exclude others from making, using, offering for sale, selling, or importing the invention. And once the patent is issued, the patentee enforces their patent without the aid of USPTO. There are three types of patents. Utility patents may be granted to anyone who invents or discovers any new and useful process, machine, article of manufacture, or composition of matter, or any new or useful improvement thereof. Design patents may be granted to anyone who invents new, original, and ornamental design for an article of manufacture. And then plant patents may be granted to anyone who invents or discovers and asexually reproduces any distinct and new variety of plant. USPTO is hiring. If you have strong analytical and critical thinking skills and excellent time management skills, we are looking for you. We are hiring over 900 patent examiners in the science and engineering fields. What is a patent examiner? So patent examiners are skilled engineers and scientists who work closely with inventors and patent attorneys to process their patent applications. And what does a patent examiner do here? The examiner reviews patent application abstracts, specification, drawings, and claims submitted to the USPTO and determines whether the invention claimed in an application is patentable. So is it new, novel, useful, has utility, and non-obvious? Judge Giles Rich coined a term, coined a phrase that the name of the game is the claim, because examiners determine if the claims are adequate to define the boundaries of the invention. Examiners also respond when applicants respond to their office actions. The examiners then reply back in full, and they may ultimately issue a patent. The Patent Examining Corps work facilitates the USPTO's mission to protect intellectual property and helps businesses protect their innovations. Patent examiners here are civil servants in the federal government who work on the cutting edge of innovation. Patent examiners may see the latest innovations years before they come to market. So we're often asked, what's the structure of the examining corps? How will I work once I'm here? So we have we place patent examiners into what we call an art unit. And in that art unit, we'll have a mix of examiners with varying experience levels. Each of those art units may have, for example, 15 examiners. And then each art unit then sits within a technology center. And there may be dozens of art units within a given TC that is overseen by TC directors like me and Keisha, for example. The TCs also include additional subject matter experts, such as quality assurance specialists. Currently, there are 8 utility TCs and 1 design TC. So what are the essential skills for a patent examiner? We're looking for excellent time management skills. Analytical and critical thinking is essential, and relevant technical knowledge in a STEM field. We're looking for people with great attention to detail, the ability to do research, making decisions, and we'd like to see excellent communication skills and reading comprehension. Last but not least, we're looking for an eagerness to learn and take feedback. In addition to these essential skills, we want to share best practices with you once you're on board and have questions while you're learning. We ask that you not spin your wheels for too long, and we should go ask questions when we have them to keep your case moving. That said, you'll want to first conduct a prior art search, review the specification, research your question in the MPEP so that you can efficiently ask your mentors targeted specific questions. We will be looking for examiners to show consistent, steady growth in output and quality over the first year. And we want to see folks who can take feedback and incorporate that feedback into their work. Also, never forget to say thank you. The USPTO is the only place to learn how to be a patent examiner. And while patent legal experience may be useful, there is no need to take the patent bar or have a law degree to become a patent examiner. We will teach you everything you need to know to do the job when you're here. Speaking of which, we offer extensive training within the first year. So first, you'll be onboarded and have 10 weeks in what we call the PTA, the Patent Training Academy. In their essential PTA Phase 1, examiners will be trained with the basic competencies needed to successfully examine. There are 120 courses provided over those 10 weeks, including formal training, lectures, and group exercises. The curriculum will cover an orientation, examination policy and procedure, the IT systems you'll be using, and your performance appraisal plan. You'll be structured in small groups, which we call labs, of newly hired examiners organized by technology and mentored by experienced trainers. After returning to your technology center when phase 1 is completed, you will be given training within your TC designed to ensure that you have the competencies needed to examine that particular technology. This occurs after PTA phase 1 and lasts intermittently for the remainder of your probationary year. Then we move on to Patent Training Academy Essential PTA phase 2. This is formal training provided after you've transitioned to your technology center and also within your first year to supplement the training that you're getting in your TC. This phase 2 portion will be 32 courses, 58 hours of classes in months 4 through 6, 8, and 10. It will be predominantly lectures with some limited group exercises as well. Here in phase 2, you'll be covering topics that occur later in examination or prosecution, such as how to manage the amendments that are filed by applicants in response to your first actions, or how to determine whether to go final in a rejection, and of course, the appeals process. The strategic plan for our patent examiner recruiting is a focus first on recruiting the most qualified patent examiners in the science and engineering fields. Efforts have focused on students from local colleges and universities, and also second career professionals to support our efforts to onboard over 900 examiners before October 1. Expansion of our recruiting efforts has occurred with virtual information sessions for universities and colleges nationwide, and we have also been offering USPTO campus events for second career professionals and to market the patent examiner position and build up our pipeline of interested candidates. We also plan to expand nationwide to career fairs and conferences. And with that, I'll now turn it over to my colleague, Keisha Bryant, and fellow recruiting director to discuss job vacancies, information on the interview process, and how to learn more.
Thank you very much, Jenny. As Jenny said, I'm Keisha Bryant, and as she said at the beginning, we are currently hiring and we are looking for you. So we do currently have vacancy announcements out now in multiple areas, and there's a high focus on electrical engineering, computer engineering, and computer science disciplines. We also have announcements for physics, chemistry, chemical engineering, and mechanical engineers. Now, just so everyone is aware that we may have some additional vacancy announcements for biology and biomed. Those currently are not open, but if that is what your technical background is, please continue to look at USA Jobs to see if that vacancy announcement opens. I will also highlight that our high hiring need is in electrical and computer science and computer engineering. And we do also have recruitment incentives for those three disciplines, where that recruitment incentive is $30,000, where $10,000 is at the when you enter into the agency, and then you have the potential to get $20,000 if you make it up to a GS-12 within the 36 months of when you onboarded to the agency. More information for that is on the vacancy announcements for those three disciplines, which again you can find on usajobs.gov. Making sure that when you go to USA Jobs, that you make sure you type patent examiner in the search box, and it will pull up all the vacancies that we currently have open at that time. Again, the announcement closes on June the 4th. And so please make sure, in order for you to be eligible for this current vacancy announcement, that you get your applications in now, and please make sure that you are reading through the vacancy in its entirety to get all of the information that you need. So we do have a couple high demand technology areas that are listed here on the screen. I will definitely say it is not a requirement. These are just some of the areas that we definitely are looking for people, but you do not have to have this technical background. Again, as Jenny said at the beginning, is that we will train you to learn what it is that you need. We will make sure that we train you in the technical field that you need, as well as the process for becoming a patent examiner. So you cannot learn this job. Again, we cannot stress that enough, that it is, you cannot learn this job anywhere but here. And so we want to make sure that you get that information. So if you happen to have background in some of these areas, that is great, but it is not required. The only requirement, obviously, is that you have the technical background in science and the engineering field that could correlate to any of the vacancy announcements that you have. I will also highlight for the vacancy announcements that we have out, if you have a degree that does not fall in any of the 7 disciplines, I would recommend that you at least apply for those vacancy announcements that are most closely related to your degree or your discipline that you have. So in regards to our interview process, I want to make sure that we highlight the way in which we do our interviews here for the patent examiner position. We use what we call the HireVue platform, which is our interview platform. And for some that may know and some may not know, it is a digital platform. And so we do have 2 rounds of interview. So when you apply for the patent examiner position, and once you meet the minimum qualifications, you will get an email from the USPTO to let you know that you have qualified for the first round of interview, which is a digital interview, where you will go online, you will receive a link where you will have questions probed to you online, and you will answer them virtually, and it will be recorded. At that time, we will then evaluate those digital interviews, and those that have the benefit of making it to the second round based on how you answered those first questions will then get a invitation to a second interview, still via HireVue, but it will be a personal interview where you will be talking one-on-one with an executive here at the agency to ask some additional questions. Please make sure that you are checking your spam for emails from the USPTO, just because sometimes those emails go there, and we want to make sure that you are getting those emails about your interviews, and if you have the opportunity to get a second interview. And additional information of everything that you need to know about your interview is in the correspondence that will be coming from the USPTO. So make sure that you're reading that in its entirety based on the dates and times that your interviews are due, or when the cutoff time is, to make sure that you get that in timely. So a couple things, a couple questions that we normally get about the interview process. Just what are some of the tips that we recommend when you are doing your interview, be it the digital one or the one that is in person? Please make sure that you are researching the job so that you know if this job is right for you. We have a lot of information about it on our career pages and just on USPTO as well, just so you can learn about the job, as well as info sessions that we have on a regular basis. Making sure that you are answering each question with specifics about your own technical experiences and skills, and making sure that you're listening to the question. And if you need to repeat, if it's in a person, that you're just taking the time to answer the question fully as it is asked. And making sure that you're presenting yourself in a professional manner. It is still a digital interview, but it is still an interview. And so you want to make sure that you're representing yourself as well and as professional as you can, and making sure that you're conveying your excellent communication skills, being clear with your answers, and making sure that you are getting to the point of the questions that are asked. So as I stated before, we do have a current vacancy open that does close on June the 4th. I know that this is a continuous vacancy, which means that it has been open for a while and closes on the 4th. However, we do have different increments where we kind of pull some of those applicants at that time, and that is when we are reviewing those applicants to see if they're eligible to get an interview. Now, those applicants that are still in the pool are still under review each time that we are pulling to consider for evaluations, and they are still under consideration for the full duration of the vacancy announcement. So understanding if you are not, if you do not get a selection at that point while the vacancy announcement is open, there are different pools and you are still being considered for this particular job, unless the vacancy announcement closes after the 4th and you do receive a notice that you have not been selected. That does not mean that the opportunity is over for you. We will be opening a new vacancy sometime shortly after that, and then you do have the opportunity to reapply for the examiner position. But understanding that once an announcement closes, any of your previous application is no longer there, and you would have to reapply to the new vacancy in order to be considered. Next slide, please. So we are currently hiring over 900 qualified examiners, as Jenny stated earlier, that we want to fill at least by October the 1st of this year. It closes on the 4th. And again, we want to really make sure that we're stressing this is that we will train you to make sure that you have everything that you need from this job. We do have the training academy, as Jenny spoke of earlier, that is for those first 10 weeks to make sure you're getting the hands-on questions and the lessons and the lectures that you need to be successful. And then when you transition into the technology area, the additional training that we are giving you throughout the year. So understanding that you do not have to know how to be an examiner, we will make sure that you get that information throughout this process. And we're eager for you to join us here at the PTO. This is a great place to work, and we want to make sure that you all have all the information that you all need to decide if this is the career path for you, and that you are making sure to go to USA Jobs to apply for this announcement. Next slide, Sean, for me to kind of talk about kind of our planned events that we have. We know we get a lot of questions about what we have coming up and for you to get more information. So coming up next week, March the 24th, from 1 to 1:30, we have something called Join USPTO Live. This is led by our Office of Human Resources, where it will give you more information about your actual application process and the qualifications that you need or how to actually apply for the job. So it will be run by OHR, and this is a great place and opportunity for you to get more of the application process questions that you may have. In April, we have a webinar, which is called A Day in the Life of a USPTO Patent Examiner. We try to do these at least once a month, where it is really just an info session to kind of talk about a little bit more in depth about the patent examiner job from either supervisors or executives that actually have done this job, to be able to talk about what it entails, more in depth about the training academy and what the day-to-day life of a patent examiner is. We have now just scheduled a live event that we will have coming up in May the 21st, which is definitely more in depth of the role of the patent examiner. And so if you're able to come to Alexandria, um, we highly invite you guys to come on the May the 21st, where it is, like I said, a live event in person. We will kind of go over the job as well as with HR. And we also have a networking event for you actually to be able to talk one-on-one with representatives to talk more about the job and be able to get some of the questions that you have that you would like to be answered in a little bit more personal one-on-one. As you can see on this slide here, our USPTO career page, which is highlighted down at the bottom, is where you can go for all of the events that we have coming up for any of the careers for us at the PTO, as well as for the examiner position. So please make sure you're monitoring that page on a regular basis, because that is updated frequently. Next slide. So how do we learn more about the job in addition to all of the things that I have, highlighted before? So if you have just additional questions on the work life of this job or just the organization as well, we have a email box that is set up for that, which is recruitment@uspto.gov. And any questions that you have about your actual application or your qualifications, please make sure that you're directing those to HR, and that is joinuspto@uspto.gov, and they are monitoring that mailbox. So please make sure that you're reaching out to that, as well as any of our social media and USA Jobs. So if you have a STEM degree or you know someone that has a STEM degree, please have them head to any of our social media sites or any of our email boxes in USA Jobs to promote this patent examiner position. And we're hoping that it will be you, all of you all that are on the call, that you all will consider this position. And so next slide, which is now open for questions, and I will move it over to Sean. So thank you again for at least, getting a lot of the information that we have here for you. And I will pull that over to Sean.
All right. Well, let me first say a huge thank you to both Jenny and Keisha for taking time out of their busy schedules to join us today. As Keisha mentioned, we are now at the start of our Q&A segment of today's program. As a reminder, questions were taken in advance at USPTO Hour at uspto.gov, so you can still send your questions in that way. With that, we will go ahead and get started. Let's see. Can you live in the East Coast and still work virtually as a patent examiner, or do you have to live uh, in Maryland or DC?
So I can kick off this one. At this time, while you're a new patent examiner at the Patent Training Academy, there is no telework available. However, once you complete the Patent Training Academy, you would be eligible to request to participate in our situational telework program.
Thank you for that. Let's see. Um, will there be a design examiner vacancy announcement? I think you guys have been talking primarily about utility and utility opportunity. So will there be a design vacancy announcement?
At this time, no, there is not a design vacancy out, but I would tell everyone, if you're interested in that, to please make sure you're checking USA Jobs, excuse me, and see if any of those vacancy announcements pop up. So I would just continue to monitor that for when a design vacancy announcement does open.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? I received an invitation to schedule an interview with the hiring manager for the patent examiner position. However, the scheduling module showed no interview slots available. Can you please advise on the next steps I should take?
So I would say for that one, making sure that you're reading the email in its entirety. Sometimes it has deadlines of when you have to schedule the interview. And I know the email also has contact information of who you can reach out to. So I would reach out to joinuspto.gov or either phc@uspto.gov, just to make sure that you do not miss the interview scheduling time, because we do have a window of when interviews can be done for either the first round and for the second round. And so just make sure you did not miss it, to be eligible. And if so, then I would reach out to the contact information that is in the email that was sent to you to schedule your interview.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that. Let's see. I wanted to ask if I am eligible to apply with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. I am expected to complete my degree this December, and I was wondering if I can still apply before graduating.
Sure. So, for your application or qualification related questions, we recommend you reach out to join USPTO at uspto.gov for those specific questions on your own qualifications.
Okay.
And I would also highlight that for any undergrads, you can apply and be accepted up to 9 months before your graduation date.
Okay.
So that is something that one could still be eligible to apply even if you have not graduated at this time.
Okay. Thank you both for that. Let's see, what else do we have? As someone with a computer science background, what areas should I focus on to be well prepared, excuse me, for this role?
So I think as we've outlined before, we will there you should certainly look to the qualifications required for each of the areas where we're hiring. For your specific background, again, you could reach out to joinuspto.gov. But if you have the necessary qualifications and you can learn in those areas, we will teach you what you need to know here. So your computer science background may be useful in various areas. We would be considering you for any that are applicable, and then the specifics of that technology, most examiners learn once they're placed into their art units and have a mentor there.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see. We also have, will being an attorney or having passed the patent bar help my chances of landing the job?
So prior experience with patent law can certainly help, but it will not increase your chances of landing the job. Again, we will teach people what they need to know here. So put your best foot forward in your interviews, make sure you're qualified for the position, and we'll be considering you throughout the vacancy. But there would be no need to rush out and take the patent bar, for example.
Okay. Let's see. Does the USPTO have tuition reimbursement related to patent law? This is a two-part question. Can an employee within DOC, excuse me, detail to the USPTO as an examiner?
So the first question was in regards to reimbursement for law
For
school.
law
So
school.
we do have law school reimbursement as well as extended education services, but those are all based on um, budget. So it is something that could be potentially eligible for, but it is based on the budget that we have for that. And you have to have certain requirements of how long you've been here, in order for you to qualify for that. The second part of being part of another agency doesn't, I mean, or being outside of the patent office, could you detail to be a patent examiner? My answer is no to that. I mean, it is a full-time job here to be an examiner here.
Okay.
So you would have to apply for this actual position, and there's nothing that you would be able to detail over into the patent examiner position.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? I was curious to know if I have my bachelor's in business, can I still possibly qualify for this role?
Possibly, sure. Again, you'd want to reach out to join USPTO at uspto.gov to see if you have the necessary qualifications for one of the areas that we're hiring in for the vacancy at that time. Are you more familiar with the business methods area, Keisha?
So, well, I would just say I would just kind of look in and see the vacancies that we have, because it will tell you the qualifications that are required for that.
Mhm.
So you can have a business degree, but I think we would also want to make sure that you have the other elements that are required for either the engineering and the science that you need in order to be placed and be selected. So it would not have to be a solely business by itself. It would be other requirements that would be needed. So there's certain areas that have some benefits of having some of that, but you would still have to have that science and engineering background that is required for you to apply for the actual vacancy announcements that are actually up right now.
Understood. Okay. Thank you guys for that. Can you work anytime from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday as a patent examiner?
Well, we do have flexible schedules here.
Okay.
I do not. It, So first, I would say that you would start in the Patent Training Academy, and it's on campus, and they do have set schedules for mandatory classes. I believe right now they're working a 549 schedule, so Monday through Friday, 9 hours typically, and then the next week they would have off like on the Friday.
Okay.
Once you're back in the technology center, we do have flexible schedules. Keisha, are you aware, is it 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. for increased flexi time
I think it might be a little bit earlier than that, about 4:30, 5 o'clock,
in the
something like
morning?
that. But one thing that I would say to that is that you do have the flexible schedules to work, but especially for those that are onboarding and are new, it is highly encouraged that you would be in communication with your trainer or whomever, or your supervisor, whoever that you're reporting to, because you want to make sure that you are on somewhat of the same time frame and schedule as the people that are training you, because it is imperative for you to get that information, for you to learn what you need. And so there's a lot of back and forth and communication and feedback that is needed between you and your trainer, especially in these first years. And so you want to make sure that you are working somewhat of the same schedule as those
Mm.
people, so that way you can get your questions answered that you need, and that you can get the support that you need from them in order to be successful. So I would make sure to highlight that we do have the flexibility, but you want to make sure that it is, conducive for everybody involved, to make sure that you can get the training and the support that you need to be successful at the bare minimum for your first year.
Okay. Thank you guys for that. Can you clarify the reapplication process? Is it possible to reapply for the same vacancy if you've been rejected?
So there's a ways for you to potentially update your vacancy. So you would need to reach out to HR on that if there's certain things that you would need to go on to USA Jobs to update your vacancy. If you have received anything from the USPTO that says that you have not been selected, then that vacancy has closed and you would have to reapply to a new vacancy announcement. So that's the difference. If you are applying to a different vacancy, so for example, if you applied to an electrical engineering position and you had an interview for that, and now you want to apply for a computer science vacancy announcement, it's a completely different vacancy announcement. And so obviously you would be submitting additional different information than you did for the other one. So it could give you another opportunity to have an interview there. But let me say, if you have applied for vacancy announcement and have already done all of your interviews for that vacancy announcement, excuse me, that interview is the interview that will be used for the entire vacancy announcement
Okay.
period that is open. So wrap that up to say, if yes, you can. It just depends on the
Okay.
vacancy announcement that you're doing. Um, and if you're just trying to reapply for one that is still currently open, then potentially no. But if you have actually gotten something from USA Jobs that says you have not been selected, then you would have to reapply in order to be considered again.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see. I recently completed a live interview on March 5th for the patent examiner position. Can you please share the typical timeline for next steps after the live interview?
Okay,
I'll let you
so
go.
so since you just kind of completed it, everyone is still in the process of doing the evaluations that we currently have going on. So it normally takes about 10, it's about around 8 to 10 week process from once we have closed the vacancy announcement and really started going through the interview process. So with one that has just kind of finished, we're still currently doing the evaluation process from that. So one should hear something, if you are selected, you should hear something in the coming weeks. If not, you are more than welcome to kind of contact the Join USPTO, just the HR, to kind of figure out the status of your application. Then you can reach out to them. They would have more information on that.
Okay. Let's see. Do I get to decide which technology center or art unit I go to? I think in your presentation you mentioned the structure of the technology centers and the art units, et cetera. So the question is related to, do applicants get to decide, if selected, do they get to decide where they would like to go?
So typically, your prior experiences and skills will weigh heavily on where you're placed, but we do need to make a business case for placements, and that's going to be determined by our filing rates and the backlogs in each of those areas. So typically, no, you would not be selecting where you would go. You would be placed where there were cases that would support the ability for you to work in them, and where there are resources available to train you. But you will not be placed somewhere where you have no chance of being successful. You'll be placed somewhere based on your skills and abilities. And then but the PTO does need to place people where the work is.
Makes sense. Thank you. Let's see. What kind of technical training is provided for new examiners in the TCs?
Wow, so it varies from TC to TC. Everyone has a different training plan. So I can speak for the biotech and organic chemistry area, where we give extensive search training on searching chemical structures. For example, you'll be given SciFinder and STN type training here, and you'll be folded in with the experts in each of those technologies. It varies in other TCs. Keisha, you've been in a couple of different TCs. How do you guys handle it in other areas?
I think a lot of times, as Jenny said, it's based on the area in which you're in. And so while you're in the academy and even once you leave, the TC will have specific things. If there are certain things that are just solely specific to the technical area that you're in, they will try to make sure you will get some of the training from trainers that are there, as well as we have CBTs or different things that you can go online to learn more about particular technical skills. That we do have different programs that you can also go in, either it be in person or based on a CBT. So it's a really kind of broad question, but we want to make sure that if there are specific things that's going to be conducive to the art area that you are actually examining, if it's certain things that they feel you really need to know in order to be successful, that TC will give you the training that you need from that. But again, we will stress um, some of the things will just come as you're continuously examining and learning the job. So some of the technical training that you get, I like to say, is on the job training. So more as you're starting to see the applications, as you're starting to search the patent applications, some of that training you will just learn from seeing it and seeing it over and again of what is out there. But if there is ever any additional training that you feel that you need, I would highly advise that you reach out to your trainer or your supervisor to see what things are available, as well as in the Patent Training Academy, they will talk about some opportunities that are available for you, as well as any additional classes and resources that you may need in order to get some additional training that you may need in order to be successful.
Yeah,
Okay.
your learning in this first year will be exponential. So you'll learn by doing, you'll ask questions, and then you'll become a true expert in the area where you're working.
Okay. Can someone with existing patents be an examiner, and does it preclude them from filing their own patents in the future during their employment?
Go ahead, Keisha.
So if someone has a patent, that does not exclude you from being a patent examiner. However, we once we know that if there's any conflicts, then obviously we will not place you in an area that there is a conflict based on any patents that you may have. Understanding that once you are a patent examiner, then you are precluded from actually getting a patent, as well as your spouses, your children, things like that, of what you are who is actually eligible. And even once you leave the agency, there is a time frame of when you are still not allowed to file once you leave, obviously for conflict. So you can have a patent, but we would make sure that any area that you were placed in did not conflict with any patents that you already have out at that time. So.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you guys for that. Let's see. Is there any possibility that the patent examiner role will be remote? Is there a USPTO office in New York, New York?
So as of now, we will be starting at the Patent Training Academy, mandatorily on campus here, with no telework available. Again, once you complete the PTA, you may be eligible to participate in situational telework. There is no patent office in New York City at this time, and we will let you know when you are eligible for certain telework opportunities as you advance throughout your career.
Okay.
And I will add that the situational telework that is available for once you leave the Patent Training Academy after the 10 weeks is based on the agency um, telework agreement, which we currently have is 52 hours in a calendar year. So that is what you would be eligible for once you have left the mandatory 10-week training at the Patent Training Academy.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you both for that. Let's see. What else do we have? If I am offered a position, can I delay my start date?
So if you're offered a position and let's say it's March now and you are graduating in May, obviously we take into account when your availability is, keeping in mind that we have set start dates that we would need to fill. And so, but of course, if you're not graduated yet, we would be looking to put you in an EOD date that would be early summer.
And I would also highlight that if you had the opportunity to be offered the position, you would have a point of contact that from HR that has reached out to you. And so that would be the point of contact that you would reach out to if a potential start date did not work, to see if there are any potential start dates,
Sure.
additional classes to start. But obviously, we are going to request that the earliest start date would be the date that you would start, but it is a potential. So reach out to whoever the specialist is that reached out to you to offer you the position to see if there are any opportunities to delay.
All right. Thank you both for that. Let's see. To what extent are AI resources used to streamline and support patent examiners? And I'm sure this is a reference to artificial intelligence.
So we do have, I mean, obviously everyone knows AI is continuously expanding. And so we are now looking at different AI tools that we can have, and we already have some currently in just to kind of help with making the job a little bit more um, resourceful for you guys. I would say it's just trying to help streamline the process a little bit. And so there's different ways to kind of help with searching and just with the examination process as a whole, but understanding that for this job, the human element is still very, very important in order to do this job. And so we're constantly expanding our AI capabilities on different processes throughout from the very beginning into the end, and just trying to make the job easier where if there's certain things that can help to help you examine the job better, we can do that. If it's different ways for helping with searching, if it's different things with just even the process when people are applying, we're making sure that all of those things are potential different opportunities that AI can be folded in to make the job easier. Um, but obviously still the technical need is still where you all come into play in making sure that we still have the thought process and the human aspect to make sure that all of that is brought into play when we're doing the examination part of the job.
I
Okay.
would also like to add that public generative AI may absolutely violate privacy concerns, and so we're currently prohibited from inputting in private information out into AI as of now. So that would be something that a new examiner should know coming in.
Okay. Let's see. One of my degrees is from another country. Is the formal WES evaluation report required during the initial screening process, or is the official transcript from my university sufficient at this stage? If I have already applied for the last cutoff date, is there any additional things that I can do to add my verified transcript?
I would say that's one thing you could probably update in your USA Jobs application. But I would also, one, check the vacancy announcement it should have information in there about your transcripts and things like that. And then I would definitely reach out to HR in regards to those questions of more personal of how you would update that information specific to that, which is joinuspto.gov. But I would definitely reach out to them just to make sure that you're getting all the proper information and that all of your paperwork is up to date, so that make sure that your application is, complete.
Okay. How many examiners in biology and biomedicine are expected to be hired this time?
So that's my area, and currently there's no vacancy at the moment for the biology. However, if you have a degree in those areas, please continue to watch USA Jobs to see if we are able to open a vacancy in those areas in the future. We were at capacity for a bit, but things change quickly as filings change, and our needs also will change there. And so please stay on the lookout. I would also say that many biologists have the requirements that may qualify them for other areas, most frequently chemistry. So take a look at the qualifications, and if you're interested, there may be other vacancies available to biologists out there that could still get you a job here at USPTO.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see. I am a patent agent with 10 years experience in a law firm. What is the possible arrangement for such a situation? Would a higher starting level or position be offered to me?
So the vacancy announcements that we have out range between a GS7 through an 11. And so obviously having that job experience could get you qualified for a higher GS level. And so that would be just something that you would have to look at when you're applying, just to see if you meet the qualifications for the different GS levels. But understanding that you have to apply for the GS level that you would want. So for example, if you only applied for a GS7, you could not be eligible for the GS11 because you did not apply for that vacancy. So I would just look at the qualifications and see, out of the three vacancy announcements, the GS level for the vacancy announcements are available, which ones that you qualify for. You could qualify for all three, and then you could apply for all of them.
Okay. Let's see. If I was not selected because of missing transcripts, am I allowed to apply again?
I would say yes, and just making sure that you're putting all of the information in. I would make sure if any communication that came back of what was missing is just making sure that you have updated all of that information into USA Jobs to get your application back up to where it needs to be.
Okay. I'm going to package these two together because I think they're related. Are there transfer opportunities to other USPTO locations available after the initial training is completed? Are you hiring in Dallas?
So the only positions that are available are only in Alexandria right now. So I know you're
Okay.
probably talking about satellite offices. I mean, regional offices, excuse me. We do have regional offices out there. However, we are not offering positions for the regional office. All of the patent examiner positions are currently only in Alexandria, Virginia. So there's no opportunities right now for any transferring to any of the other regional offices.
Okay. Sorry, let's see here. For the current hiring cycle that you guys are on, will there be or are there hiring or starting dates before October 1st?
Yes, absolutely. We have several dates between now and then. I don't have the list of them handy. Do you happen to know them, Keisha?
They'll be running from now until the end of the end of September. And so there are different start dates available. So yes, there are still some before that time. And understanding that even after that, we are expecting to have another vacancy announcement once this one closes in June, which would open up the opportunities for additional start dates past, October. So I would be on the lookout for that as well if you are not able to start before October.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see. During training, Are my mentors and instructors on site, and will I be able to work in person with them?
Yes, absolutely. So you'll be here on campus, and your PTA trainers over at the Patent Training Academy, they're on-site trainers. Your mentors and your supervisor are most likely also on-site most days. Um, it may vary depending on the exact expert you'll be working on in your specific technology, but the bulk of your training will be by someone in person in the classroom in those 10 weeks when you onboard.
Okay. Let's see. How many days typically does it take to get a response back from the USPTO email address you provided in your presentation? I think that might
The
have been join, the
join,
join.
the
Yep.
join USPTO, yeah, that's run by HR. I would say give them a couple of days. Obviously, they're manning the box on a daily basis and trying to make sure that they can get, there's a lot of email correspondence that's going in that mailbox. And so I would say just give them a couple of days to respond back to you. And obviously, if you don't hear anything, then you can, try to email again. But I would say give them a
Sure.
couple of days for response.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's see. Is there an age limit to apply for the patent examiner position?
No, and we absolutely welcome second or third career professionals here at the USPTO. Like we said, we'll train you on what you need to know, and your experience and expertise that you bring in here would be most welcome. So, definitely no age limits.
All right. I know we're running tight on time. I'll try to sneak a couple more in really quickly here. With technology changing pretty rapidly, especially with the integration of AI, how does a USPTO examiner stay quote unquote up to date in such a growing field? I'm assuming like AI. And it says this may be for you, Keisha, but also can be answered by Jenny as well.
Well, thank you for the question. I would say, as we know in general, technology is expanding all the time and it's evolving as we go. And so we had talked about before that we kind of put you in a specialized area of where you need to go. And as technology grows and expands, maybe sometimes the technology that you were in may not be as highly feasible as it was before. And so we try to make sure if we have to move people to different technology areas that is still kind of closely related to what you've already been examining, and then you just kind of transition into those areas because sometimes, I always say, when was the last time we used a Polaroid camera? As time goes on, things kind of just
Sure.
just evolve as you're going. And so we as technologies kind of dry up, we're always constantly looking, and where those areas are, and then we just kind of transition the examiners to kind of the next round of whatever the technology is that's closely aligned to the technology that they are currently in.
Okay. I have my eyes on the clock here. I think we're just about out of time. I'm going to try to sneak this one last question in. Situational tow work you said was 52 hours. Is that 52 hours the maximum amount of situational tow work one is allowed each calendar year, or is it for a bi-weekly pay period?
It's the calendar year. Well, actually, it's the leave year. So it begins sort of a couple weeks into January and goes for the full year thereafter.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm looking at the clock and we are just about out of time. So I want to say again a huge thank you to both Jenny and Keisha for being a part of today's program. Thank you guys all for these wonderful questions. Unfortunately, we were not able to get to all of them, but we will make sure that we pass those questions along and try to respond to you as we can. As a reminder, there will be a survey sent out to you to the email address that you used to register for today's program. So we'd appreciate if you take the time to go ahead and fill it out. We use your input, good, bad, or otherwise, to improve upon this program and others we offer here at the agency. With that, my clock says it's 1 o'clock on the dot. So thanks again to Keisha and Jenny. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to be with us, and we hope you have a great rest of the day and week. And hopefully, we'll see you somewhere soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.